Hey everyone. All right, welcome on. Today we are talking to Jessica Perry. First off, Jessica's like one of my best business besties. We talk every day. But I'm really excited to share with you guys something new that she is doing, but also it's a topic that I don't really think we talk about enough, being burnout. Like Jessica is known as the Burnout Boss. That's like kind of how we've all started to dub her because that's exactly what she's really good at is identifying the burnout and kind of helping you through it and coming to the other side. So she really helps all of the entrepreneurs and busy business women become more present and set higher standards, creating better boundaries so you therefore have more time and energy and, can do the things you want to do with your life. So, welcome, Jess. Thanks for being
Thank you
here.
for having me. This is so exciting. I always love talking to you.
Oh,
We
I
don't need an
know.
excuse to talk.
Yeah, yeah. It's always so we're like in Messenger almost every day. We're chatting. We're what starts with a conversation ends up being a brainstorming session. Like that's I really encourage you guys in this group or as you come across people, if they're your kind of people, like jump into Messenger and start having a conversation with them. That's exactly how we started. We were strangers. And then
Yeah, I don't remember. Did I message you? Did you message me? I don't remember, but we were just like, hey, like we're
yeah,
in the same program. Like I think we'd be friends outside, so let's
yeah.
talk.
I know, and we finally, after talking for, I don't know, 6, 8 months, something in Messenger, we finally got to meet each other in person in May, which was fantastic. So the time of this recording is a couple months ago, but um, it was like, yeah, we'd already known each other, and that's the power of social media. Like you can just
Yeah, you get to meet
become
people who
friends.
you never would have normally met and you attract your people. It's so weird how that happens.
Yeah,
We never would have met, but like if we were in the same town, we would be like besties. Like
yeah.
like we if we would have like met naturally, it would have just happened.
hmm Well, and I think too, what's kind of interesting about social media is in real life, like I'm an introvert. If I was to go to like a coffee shop or something, I would not be making conversation with somebody that I didn't know. But on social, if I see somebody that I'm like, ooh, I really love her vibe, I have like this ballsy kind of like thing to me where I'm like, I'm going to go say hi to her. And I
Right?
would never do that in real life.
Same. I think it's just because like we're behind the camera or behind the phone or whatever. So it's like that, like I'm not really
Protection.
me, I'm someone else kind of a thing. Or they
Well,
don't know me, I'm
yeah.
safe.
Yeah. And that's a really good point to make because, a lot of people are on social media thinking they have to be somebody else in order to attract the right kind of people. And I'm more and more discovering that that's so far from the truth. Like, I tried showing up as somebody I wasn't for a long time, and it was really fucking exhausting.
What's funny about that is that I was like, oh, I can't curse in front of this girl. She's like so rough. And one day you were like, I think I need to say fuck more. And I was like, oh my God, she's my people.
No, I
It was just
remember.
like one
I
of those
remember.
moments.
Well, and that was actually a really big. I remember talking to my business coach like about that, and I'm just like, I cuss. Like that's part of me. If you met me in real life, I would just be cussing, and I don't have to be drinking like for that to be the thing. Sometimes I just cuss. It just, I don't know. It Some people say it's a lack of intelligence. You know what? I don't care what you
Oh, fuck
think.
that. It's it's therapeutic. For me,
Yeah.
it like emphasizes what I'm gonna say. It's like very
hmm
I'm passionate about what I'm talking about. So it comes out sometimes just because that's like my vibe and
Yeah.
I don't need to apologize for that. Why is it why is it a word then if I can't use it? That's how
Yeah.
I feel. Right? Like it exists, I can use
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Every word is available to me, and I'm going to use it. Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. And so with you being the burnout boss, like this is your lane. Like the moment that we were brainstorming and we were talking about this, I knew whenever I heard it, we were talking about it, and I'm like, oh yes, like she is 100% the burnout boss. Because when we get into a chat, sometimes you inadvertently like you're just coaching. You're so good at it. It
And
just
it's so
happens.
crazy that you say that because a couple people lately have just said to me like in passing like, oh, thank you so much, like you're such an awesome coach, like I need to hire you. And I was like, what did I say? Like, we were just talking naturally, and I wasn't even like in the coaching mode. But like, someone else yesterday said to me, like, you're just a natural coach. Like, you just connect people, and you're just like a relationship builder, and you just say things that like are coaching, but because it's natural. And I was like, makes sense. See, sometimes we don't see what's right in front of us because it's us. We're just so used to it being like, well, that's common sense, but it's not to everybody. It's our, personal gift or our personal, talent
Mhm.
that we can kind of just have that power to speak like that.
Yeah. Well, and that's like that is your superpower is cutting through the bullshit and saying exactly what someone needs to hear. And I think that's where a lot of the issue lies with, you saying, okay, well, it's like common sense. In a way, yeah, it is, but we get in our own way so
Mhm.
frequently. Like more times than not, if something's not working out in your life, it's probably because you're in your own way, not because of anybody else or anything else. And that's a hard truth to admit and to like know. But you just have a way of like making that crystal clear without making someone feel bad about themselves. Instead, you're like, here's some solutions. Like maybe do this instead. And yeah, I love that we have this rapport where we can brainstorm and we can get together and we can talk about these things. Cause I know if you and I are doing that, I know you're doing that with so many other women and enriching their lives. And it's just like, it really is exciting.
It's crazy to me because this is just like natural for me. And I don't have any ulterior motive. Like, that's the thing is, for a long time, I would always fear that people would think that of me. Like, well, is she thinking that I'm just, a lot of times what we do it for validation, right? Like, we're both reading the same book right now. And thank you for turning me on to that. Cause I literally was like, yes, like every
Yeah.
like chapter, I was like, oh, mind blown. I have to stop and take notes. Like, this is amazing. But it's just like you look to external things for validation. And that's constantly what I was doing growing up was like looking for that external validation. So having everybody like me, making sure I said things that were proper. And, if I cursed, I was looked at as like, oh, that girl's trash. Like, like, but by whose standards,
Right.
like, and in my mind, I was just always so afraid of what anybody and everybody would think of me that I just put myself in a box and tried to behave however whoever I was around, I would adapt to. Like, oh, this person speaks like that, I'm going to speak like that. Like, if my vocabulary, I talked about this yesterday with you. Like, one of my friends and I, like, we had an extensive vocabulary when we were younger. Like, we were in all the advanced classes. We like spoke very intelligently, and like at a certain point we looked at each other, we were like, okay, we're hanging out with these people right now, like we need to speak a certain way because they're not going to
Hmm.
understand what we're talking about. Like, and not that I wanted to dumb it down, but like it was in a way changing how I was interacting with people without even like knowing that I was doing damage to myself. I would just always be in that mode of changing my personality with whoever I was around. Now, you're always going to get the same me no matter what. Like, I'm the same me on here as you see like behind the scenes, but like my filter, like if you see sometimes
Yeah.
I pause before I speak, that's because I'm filtering. And it's just like it's it's like an automatic thing where I'm like, let me think about what I'm about to say so I don't say the wrong thing or I don't say it the
Yeah.
wrong way. But like, if it's coming out of me, it's never the wrong way. It's going to be exactly how I mean it to be. And sometimes I
Mhm.
think it's because I would offend people that I would just be like, let me make sure I'm thinking before I speak.
Yeah.
And, when you're younger, you're always taught too, like children should be seen and not heard. Now, I was never spoken to like that by my parents, but I've heard it thrown around. And
Hmm.
so I think that a lot of us are always kind of like, as we grew up, we like, okay, this didn't work for me. Let me turn into this person. Let me turn into that person. Let me turn. And now you're this person who works 90 hours a week because you don't know how to say no to your boss and you're physically and mentally exhausted. You don't have room for anything else in your life. You're eating poorly. You're not paying attention to, what's going on around you. You're constantly down in your phone. And you're like, how did I wake up one day and be this person? And that's kind of like how it evolved for me.
Yeah.
It was like one day I was like, I don't like this life. There has to be more than this. There has to be more to life than this because this sucks.
Yeah. Oh, and that's the thing is when you have that realization of like, there's got to be more, this totally sucks. Like, okay, having that realization, that's a gift. Like, take that, now start doing something different. And that's where people like Jessica really come into play to help you make that transition because doing that can be really hard. Like changing patterns even really shitty ones is, I mean, almost especially really shitty ones, like those are the hardest ones to change. And when you get to being like the whole subject of burnout, it really is, it starts so small. It starts by filtering yourself little by little. It starts by saying yes too frequently. It starts by feeling validated by taking on someone else's task. Like it's the really small stuff that we don't necessarily recognize that are going to lead to burnout, but they keep stacking. And then you're underneath just being crushed. Like it's so, it's a quiet thing. You know what I mean? Like burnout doesn't just like, boom, all right, you're burnt out one day. It's like it builds over time. And that's why I really, when I took a look at your syllabus for your program that you have, I read it and was like, this is awesome because it literally takes you through the journey of everything you've experienced that got you to burnout. And then it
Right.
gives you the
It's
solutions
kind
to
of like a
obviously get
reverse
out.
engineering where
Yeah.
you're like, okay, let's start. You're never going to get out of your patterns unless, okay, I'll give you an example. I have a shitty relationship with food. I have my whole life. I've always struggled with my weight. And again, use that as kind of like validation, or that was like my safe zone. Like, let me just eat, like I
Hmm.
stress ate and I emotionally, got attached to food. Obviously, breaking myself out of that pattern was hard. And you can go on all the crash diets you want and you can do all the things that they tell you. But if your mindset is not right, if all of those years of having all of those thoughts and patterns build up and what's in your subconscious is not corrected, if like the root of the cause is not being corrected, you're going to fall back into the same patterns again. So
Yeah.
like for me, the burnout thing still does come up sometimes because I'll be like, nope, I'm looking for validation. Like I need to cut that shit right now because I'll notice like if there's certain people that trigger me, or if there's certain, I'll get a text message and I'll notice that like I'm tense. And before I wouldn't have noticed that. I would have just probably lashed out and been like, "What stop, I'm on the phone," like, and now I realize I'm like, nope, this is gonna trigger me. I'm deleting it. Like
Yeah.
I won't even engage with things in my life that upset me. I'm not saying I don't deal with problems. I'm not saying I don't, but if there's something that doesn't serve me, a person in my life that doesn't serve me, something that's way more negative than it ever is positive, I'm going to cut it out because I know that it's going to bring the old patterns back. So it's really about breaking it down from like the very core of how it started, to your
Yeah.
point.
So, okay, that actually leads me to wanting to discuss a little bit, what does it actually mean to be able to understand, like when you're starting to feel overwhelmed? That's one of the first things that is going to lead you to eventual burnout, right? So, how does someone even come to understand that sensation or that feeling of overwhelm and the impact that it eventually will have?
That's a great question because for a long time I didn't even recognize that I was burnt out. I was just kind of like, well, this is the part of the job. And that's like your biggest sign. If you are telling yourself that, oh, well, this is just part of my life, or this is what I signed up for. No, it's not. You can do what you're doing
Nope.
without signing up for all the extra crap. So for me, it was I started recognizing the overwhelm in myself because I was like, well, this is just part of my job. I work retail, right? So I'm supposed to work as many hours as they need me to,
Yeah.
right? Like I don't go home at any specific time. And if my boss says go back to work, I'm going to go back to work. What?
Yeah. What? Yeah.
Why? Like I would work 12 hours and he'd be like, why'd you go home? You didn't make plan. I'm like, I'm not staying at work longer. I'm not working 7 days a week. Like I don't
Yeah.
know. Like the thing we get so caught up in is that our work is our justification. That's our validation. That's what oh, we're good people because we work. We're taught we have a good job because we went to school and we got good grades and we got a good job and now we have a house and we have a savings, and we're taught all these things that we're supposed to be doing, and we're good people and we're good citizens because we do it this way and we're so committed to our jobs. Are you living your life? Are you enjoying things? Do you smile every day? Do you catch yourself enjoying things? Like if you're bowling with your kids, right? Are you on your phone in the background, like looking at emails because you're like so afraid that tomorrow's going to come and you're going to have extra work on your plate? Like there's certain things that you need to look for. So like for
Yeah.
me particularly, I found, and this is when I had the epiphany, I was like, I have so much stuff to do and I don't want to do any of it. I don't even know where to start because I have so much stuff to do. So like the lack of prioritization, the lack of organization, The lack of what I thought it was time. It's not a lack of time. It's a lack of placing priority and boundaries in your life.
Yeah.
You have
Yeah.
priorities of what needs to get done and when and what's the most important. You block out times during the week and you set yourself working hours because you're like, no, I'm not working past this time because I have this other commitment. So like
Mhm.
there's ways around it, but I'll go more into that in my program.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's just a little snippet. But it's that feeling of like, well, I have so much to do, but I don't want to do any of it. It's the constant, well, I'll just do that tomorrow or I'll get to that later. It's the
Mhm.
constant feeling of like it could be physical, heart palpitations, constant headaches, constant anxiety. And if you don't know that you have it, some people are not like, I'm not burnt out. Pay attention. Start really like asking yourself, like, am I enjoying my life? And like, don't BS yourself. Like, oh yeah, I love
Right.
my life. Like, we're just so programmed to. You notice when you ask somebody like, "Hi, how are you?" They're always like, "Good. How are you?" What
Yeah.
if you're not really good? We're just so programmed to like turn on the switch that we're good,
Mhm.
um, but we're not. So don't lie to yourself. That's the one thing I lied to myself for years. Like, no, I'm fine. Like, this is just part of my job. This is what I do. I'm not supposed to have friends or hang out on the weekends or have spare time to do things. Like, what? I don't need sleep or
Yeah.
nutrition. But that's not the case. So
Yeah.
if you're not excited to go wake up every single day, if you're trying to stay in your bed extra, if you wake up and you're like, I'm not ready for the day, like I need to go back to sleep, or if you have trouble getting to sleep, if you just feel so overwhelmed, if you're always in your head about everything going on, if you're constantly writing to-do lists and like I would rewrite them and rewrite them and rewrite them and just to check things off and then be like, I've left something out. Let me rewrite it. Or this to-do list is messy. If you're constantly looking for other things to focus your attention on because you don't want to do what's right in front of you, you're overwhelmed. You're like, I don't even know what to do. So I'm just going to like keep busy by doing this other thing, so it
Mhm.
could be in the form of distractions. And like I said, physical, like headaches, depression, anxiety, just constantly feeling tense and uptight. Um, and like I said, like if you flip a switch, like I got a text message the other day and I was like, and I just started feeling like it rise up inside of me. And I was like, nope, I'm deleting this. I don't need this in my life. And this is the start of something bad. So it's all about, I'm not saying it's going to go away for good. I'm saying you'll start getting better at
Yeah.
recognizing the signs and being like, no, I'm going to flip it. So recognition is really the first thing. Like
Mhm.
start paying attention to certain things going on throughout your day and how you're feeling. Pay attention to your feelings. Pay attention to what bothers you and what your triggers are.
Yeah, and honestly, that's been such like the game changer for me in my own journey is the recognition piece, the self-awareness of when something happens, this is how I feel. And it's not to say like, oh, you constantly have to be, in your feelings. It's simply a moment of self-awareness that can totally shift the trajectory of the next, 6 hours of your day or 30 minutes of your day. Like it literally boils down to having that recognition and then having the power of choice. Like those tools can be really powerful to kind of combating overwhelm because yeah, I think a lot of times when someone's overwhelmed and it's almost like there's a sense of confusion where they're like, I don't understand why I'm not doing the task that I know I need to be doing. I don't understand why I don't have enough time. You know what I mean? It's this fine line of like they know they don't have the solution, but they also have no idea how they got there. And yeah, that's exactly when that's how you know when you're in overwhelmed. Like you feel like you have none of the answers and you also have none of the solutions and you're just being busy for the sake of like, well, I guess this is what I should do
Mhm.
because I'm in a spiral of procrastination and self sabotage and
Yes.
all the things. And yeah, that's exactly what overwhelm feels like. I
The
used to,
procrastination, I want to say, is like the biggest sign that I had because it was like I had all of these tasks to do. Why did I have to go do the dishes?
yeah,
Or like, why did I decide it was more important to, listen, if you need to do something for your mental health, if you're like, I have so much going on right now, I need to go take a walk, that's productive. That's
yeah,
self care and that's acceptable. But if you're like, I have to go do the dishes, no, you're putting more work on your plate and you're directing your focus in a different direction instead of actually being productive in something you needed to get done. that would help you actually clear your plate a little bit and feel better. So it's like
Yeah.
that constant diversion of your attention to be like, no, I'm busy, but you're just lying to yourself.
Yeah.
You're not
Yeah.
productive.
Yeah. Well, and I know that we did an exercise, and I'm pretty certain this is something you have in your program in some form or another, is recognizing the they're being like they're urgent, they're important, they're not urgent, but they are important. Like having
Yes.
those, being able to assign those tasks in that way, that is so eye opening. And again, like you mentioned, don't be lying to yourself. Like
Yeah.
things that you say are urgent and important. Are they really? Like, is it really life changing if it didn't get done right now? Or is it a task that you can actually schedule out a week from now and just get it done? Because people always say all the time, I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that. Everybody's got the same amount of hours in a day, and somehow some people get more done than others. Why? Systems,
Yeah. We're just
right?
programmed to say, I don't have time. It's because you don't see time in your schedule because you're so wrapped up in everything that you have going on that I guarantee you, I worked with a private client a couple weeks ago and we were looking at her schedule. I'm like, do me a favor. I'm like, I want you to fill out this log for a couple days. I want you to write down everything you're doing. And at the end of the week, we got back together and she was like, so I realized that I was really wasting a lot of time scrolling on social media. I was wasting a lot of time like diverting my attention to other places. I realized that I stay 2 hours extra at work like every day because like I just couldn't say no to clients. And honestly, after like I think it was like 2, 3 months that we were together and she all of a sudden shifted and was like, I'm setting boundaries. I told my boss that I don't work past this hour anymore. I realized that it wasn't that I was, you know, wasting time or not being productive. I realized I wasn't aligned with what I was doing. So I switched what company I'm with and I'm doing this now instead of that. And I didn't think I could do this because of these reasons. And, it was like all these limiting beliefs that she had that she didn't even realize. We were just so clouded by everything going on around us, everybody else's judgments, the fear of not performing or living up to expectations by whose standards, I don't know. It's like you want to be a good wife, you want to be a good mom, you want to be a good employee, you want to be a good person. And it just gets so, how about just being you? Hopefully you're just a good person in general. And like, so, shitty people, I'm not talking to you, but like, but sometimes people are shitty because they are so wrapped up in what's going on around them that that's the only way that they can cope. So I don't even take offense to people that are like that. I actually feel bad and I'm like, listen, I can help you. If you
Yeah.
if you want to coach, I can help you because you're in your own way. And listen, I can lead a horse to water, but I can't make them drink. So you have to want it more than I do. I can't help somebody. I've worked with people too where it's just like, I don't think this is the right fit for us. Me coaching you is not going to work because you're not ready
Yeah.
to admit that there's an issue. You're not ready to take the first step because every time I'm suggesting what the next step is or what the first step is, you're coming back and being combative. And that just to me means that no matter what work we do together, you're constantly going to be fighting it. So you have to be willing to get out of your own way and be willing to be coachable and be willing to take the first step. And some people are just so afraid of change because they're so well, if my shitty life is what I know, then I'm safe here. And if I try and change it, I don't know if it's going to be if it's going to be better or if it's going to be worse. So I'd rather stay here
Yeah.
instead of figuring out like, well, no, there is a better way. You can live a better life. It's just you're going to go through some crap. You're going to bring up some uncomfortable issues. You're going to deal with some uncomfortable things that you didn't realize about yourself, and it's going to make you really take a deep look inside. And it's a lot of work, but it's
Yeah.
worth it in the end. I put my phone down now and I'm present with my kids all the time. I don't care like what else is going on. It's like I can get to that later. Like
Hmm.
I have a clear understanding of what I want my life to look like and how to get there. And I'm much more, loving and giving to myself than I ever was because it was always like I'd rather do for other people than do for myself. And I'd rather see myself suffer than other people suffer. And it's like, well, why can't I have both? And so it's really prioritizing what's important to you. And sometimes you're just so far gone that you can't even see what's important to you or what you want your life to look like, you know?
Yeah. Well, I absolutely like I remember myself, who I was like 3 to 5 years ago, that version of me. Oh my gosh, I was such a fucking people pleaser. Like, and I didn't recognize it then, but I would have daily anxiety about like, I would be checking my emails constantly for work, whether even if it was like 10, 11 o'clock at night, I would check them right before bed to be like, is there something that needs my attention? Because I was placing all of my self worth into this thing that like isn't even a reflection of me. It's just what pays the bills, And why on earth was I stretching myself so thin? And I know like every day I would have knots in my stomach about whether I was doing a good enough job and whether I was showing up enough because what I was doing maybe just didn't look like enough from the outside looking in. And so I'm constantly trying to be better and, show my worth. And oh my gosh, like it's just having the self-awareness that I have now. And I know not everybody is there right now. Like somebody watching this might be like, this conversation is not for me. I'm feeling, I'm
If
feeling
you
called
told me
out. And it's like,
if I saw this conversation going on 2, 3 years ago, I'd be like,
yeah,
yeah, let's say 3 to 5 years ago, because 2 years ago I was definitely already in a different space. But
yeah,
5 years ago, let's say, if I heard this conversation going on, I'd be like,
yeah. I'd be like, these
what
people
are
are
they
not for
talking
me.
about? Like that doesn't apply to me. Like, yeah, you don't see it.
Yeah,
And it's like knowing what I know now, I can't go back to the way it was. It's just like,
yeah,
no, I have boundaries now. People call me, oh, I need this. Da, da, da. I'm like, I'm not at work right now. Or they'll text me. And I used to text back my clients at all hours of the night. I don't respond. And the next morning, there's a question mark next to their message after they already sent me a couple messages. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I already left for the day. I only work between this hour and this hour. So I had already left. And, if I don't respond back, it's because I'm not working, and I will respond back to you when I start work the next day. Like
yeah,
I had to put my foot down because people were texting me 11, 12 o'clock at night. I'm like, no.
yeah. Yeah, and that's the whole self-justification aspect of it that leads to burnout. Like that's I think where I was 3 to 5 years ago was everything I was doing was to justify my worth. And
Yes.
all the action I was taking, none of it was actually improving me. Like personally, mentally, physically, any of it. It was actually draining me more than anything. But I was applying all of this justification for someone else, just people
Yep.
pleasing my ass off every day as much as I possibly could because it made me feel like I had some kind of purpose. But all it really did was lead me closer and closer to feeling burnt out and lesser than, and just like I don't know, feeling like I could never get my head above water. Um, I think that the justification piece is something that a lot of us don't necessarily recognize that we do every single day, being those people pleasers and just getting past that. So yeah, I know that like how is it whenever you work with your clients, whenever you guys are talking about this type of thing, that level of justification and inserting your worth into other things.
Yeah. So the thing is, you kind of have to realize your work. Like, it really takes a deep dive of like, why do you feel the need to justify yourself to other people? So it could be anything from something your parents said to you when you were younger that you internalized. My mom once said to me, like, "Oh, you got a 95 on your test. Imagine what you would have gotten if you would have studied." I took that as, okay, it's never good enough. Just keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, because it's never good enough. What she meant was, haha, you got a 95 without studying. That's freaking amazing. Like, I can't imagine what you would have gotten if you would have studied. But she thought it was like funny that I
Yeah.
got a 95. And I was sitting there like, okay, my best is not good enough, but let's just keep going. And that one comment I remember vividly because obviously it strung through a chain of events in my entire life, right? So like getting when I'm older, right? Now I'm in retail, I'm working my ass off. I was 16 working 40-hour weeks when my friends were all down the shore because I wanted to make money and I wanted to help my family and I wanted to go on trips and I wanted to be independent, right? So I'm like, oh, like I'm already justifying myself at 16 years old. Like, well, I have a job and I make money and I am a good girl, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and so as I got older and, I'm in retail, I keep mentioning that because it's a very, if it's a very specific, you have to be a very specific type of person to do it. It is a very, it is not for the faint of heart. It is
No.
a lot of work, a lot of getting abused by customers, a lot of, and if you work for a corporate company, which I did at the time, it was like, oh, okay, you had $10,000 sale yesterday. That's great. But like, what did you do today? And, oh, you
Mhm.
worked 10 hours, but you guys didn't make plans. So why did you think it was okay to leave, to go home for the day?
Yeah.
Those kinds of things I allowed. I didn't say anything back. I literally was like, "Oh, I'm sorry." No, I'm justifying myself. What I should have said to this person, which is a real a-hole because that's all he did was like talk down to me about, and I took it because I was like, well, this is my job. I'm not going to speak back to my boss. And
Right.
but who are you to speak to me like that? I'm a person and I deserve everything that I want. And no, you know what? I'm going home because I already worked 10 hours today. I've worked 6 days this week already because it is Christmas time. I've already given you extra time and energy. I don't get to see my friends or my family on the weekends because I'm always here. And you know what? I'm tired. I need to go home and rest and nourish my body and watch Netflix if I feel like it. So that's what
Yeah.
I really want. That's what nowadays, that's what I would say. Like,
Yeah.
I put the foot down, but back then I let it happen over and over and over again. And I just said, you know what? Like, I just keep pushing myself to be better, to sell more. Selling more equaled me being
Hmm.
better. Performing better equaled me fulfilling my purpose. And getting a pat on the back meant that I was good. And
Yeah.
getting that you did awesome today, or congratulations, or your store is number one. That was like my, like, oh my God, I am a good person. I am, and that justification is just like it, you don't need anybody else or any external validation to justify what you do and what you want in your life. And that's something that took me almost 40 years to realize. And it was just like,
Yeah.
like, wow, all of the time I wasted, and that's why I'm so passionate about what I do, all of the time that I wasted knowing what needed to be done, knowing what I needed to say. I can teach other people how to do it, but I'm not doing it for myself. Why? It was like a wake up call one day. It was honestly, I hate to say it, and this is going to be very controversial, but the pandemic was the best thing that happened to me in my life. And I'm not saying anything about anybody else or what happened, not because the pandemic was great, not because people were sick, not, but if there's one thing I can look at the bright side of what happened is that the world was forced to shut down. Everybody was forced to slow themselves down, forced to stay at home and enjoy their lives without going to work and without being pushed. And I'm not talking about those people that are, that
Right.
were like the necessary workers that had to go to work every day still. Like, I have so much respect for those people. So that isn't in no, you see, I'm already justifying because I know someone's going
Yeah.
to be offended.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Just know we are not saying this to offend
right,
anybody.
right. No offense intended.
Yeah.
But for me personally, it was one of those, oh my God, I have a second chance at life. That was my thought. Wow. I've been saying
Hmm.
for years, I don't want to work this job anymore. I don't want to live this life. Now is the chance. If I have any time to change my circumstances, it's now. Little did I know that I already had everything I needed inside of me to do this years ago, but I didn't have the right vehicle to get me there. And
Yeah.
so doing a lot of the work and doing a lot of the self-development and being forced to take time off and just be with myself and my thoughts and figure out what it is that I wanted to do moving forward. When they called me back to say, we're hiring you back full time, I was like, I can only work one day a week. I don't have care for my kids, which was true. But I also in my head was like, I will never work
Mm.
full time again in that industry because that's not what I want. And I know if I do it to myself, I'll never get out of it. I've been saying for years I want to change. If there's any time, it's now. And like that was
Mhm.
like the biggest blessing for me is like to trust my intuition. And that's something that's huge too. We don't trust ourselves
No. No.
at all. We trust other people to make the decisions for us, and that's how
Yeah.
we live our lives. So we're not really living our lives. We're living the lives that we think other people want us to live in a
Oh,
weird,
yeah.
messed up way.
Well, I mean, that's exactly it. That we think we have these hopes and dreams for ourselves, but it's really more, okay, how can I people please my way into getting the atta girl, the, you know, you did a good job. Like that's when you really break it down and peel back all the layers. Most of the reasons we do things is so we can get validation from someone else, not validation from ourselves, not feeling personally enriched because we did something that made us feel good. It's more, okay, did that make them feel good? And that is so backwards. Like it's okay every now and then. Sure, yes, we want to make sure other people are living great lives. Like obviously, you and I are in this space to help other women create better lives for themselves. So yes, there is a piece of that, but me helping you create a better life doesn't mean that I'm people pleasing my way into you feeling good about your life. It's
Right.
showing you that you can have that peace for yourself and you don't have to hit the bottom of the barrel in order to make those decisions. Like that's why having people like you in your circle, like having a supportive network of people around you, it can eliminate you from hitting rock bottom before having to make that choice. Because that's exactly, like, I agree with you. At the pandemic, there was obviously a ton of really, really awful things that happened. But on the flip side, it created this new dynamic that either you're going to sink or swim, you're going to figure out a new way of doing business, a new way of operating, or you're not. And you're not going to
And
like
look at how many companies
thrive.
figured out that, oh, we can let you work from home now. Why couldn't you do that years ago? It
Yeah.
took that to so that's a great point. Like we could have been operating if we had put our foot down, if we had put boundaries in place
Yeah.
a long time ago, we could have been living this way back then. And it
Yeah.
didn't have to take this to happen. But like it was eye opening for sure. For
Yeah.
me, definitely.
Oh, yeah, same, same. It was completely eye-opening. And I'll be honest, like the first couple months of the pandemic, I was basically doing yoga and getting drunk every day. Like I was
I was
not a
online
productive
shopping
individual.
and dyeing my hair at home.
Yeah. Like I think a lot of us, we in the very beginning, we weren't productive humans because we were just like, what? I don't, unless you were, you know, on the front line kind of situation, obviously you were doing
Well,
that.
because
But
we were just so you mean we have all this free time and we don't have to do anything? We don't have to go to work. We
yeah,
don't have to work 60 hours this week. I can wake up when I want and do what I want. It was like a field day, like
yeah.
literally.
But it was like 3 months of a field day
Right.
because I didn't actually have the self awareness or the self discipline to then say, holy shit, I have all this free time. I'm going to go build a business. I'm going to go get healthy. I'm going to go do something
Right.
productive. Instead, I'm like, let me do a quick little yoga sesh and then go buy some vodka. Like that was literally what I did for like
Sounds
three
like a good
months.
time, though, I will say.
It was a good time for like a
A week.
week. And then
Yeah.
after that, it became yet another thing that I allowed to become like a task for me or a, okay, well, this is just what's expected of me now. And, you know, I was just in this fucking
Yeah.
terrible cycle of self sabotage. And I know that, especially during that time, you know, not alone in that. But so many people, like when I was, after I got hired back after the pandemic and all the things, that's when I decided like I really need to get my shit together. And I'm the heaviest I've ever been. I don't get good sleep. I feel tired all the time. I'm fucking cranky all the time. Like, let's be honest. And I was just like, I really beat myself up about not taking full advantage of having a full day that I could just dedicate to myself. For 3 months when I was furloughed, I could have been dedicating my life to like bettering myself and I didn't. But you know, I look back and yes, there's regret that I didn't do that, but at the same time, mentally
You
I
needed
wasn't
it.
ready. Like, yeah, I
You
needed I
needed that
needed that
time
kind
and
of
that space.
spiral to then see later, wow, you really wasted a lot of time.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, I felt bad about that and I felt guilty about it, but I had to tell myself, I mean, I literally sat on the couch one day and I remember I probably just got done eating Whataburger or something. And and I felt so guilty about having eaten fast food and being like overweight and just feeling really ugh. And I said to myself out loud, I was like, Sarah, get your shit together. You're like the decade of your 30s could be the best years of your life if you just do something different. And like it kind of flipped for me then. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I need to start doing something different. And that's exactly what finding a network of women like you does is it flips that switch of maybe you're not ready to go all the way yet, but maybe you see that it's possible to do something different.
You could take the first step.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is too, is like you always have to watch the people around you. I was surrounded by people who didn't have ambition, didn't want more, were happy living in the same hometown that they've been in their whole life, not really doing anything with themselves, or being a stay-at-home mom and not doing anything else for themselves. I'm not saying listen, I'd love to be a stay-at-home mom, okay? Like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, there's people who, that they want more for themselves, but they settled for less
Yeah.
and settled for just staying in the same situation. And we're a lot of complaining going on, but not doing anything about it. Like, a lot of people surrounding me that were just toxic.
Yeah.
And I've cut people out of my life over time. 36-year friendship I cut because she just disrespected me. And I was like, hell no, you just questioned my integrity. And if you think that I would ever do something like what you're saying I would do, then you're the messed up one, because that's something that came from your brain. You thought that up. I would never think to do something like that. So I was just like, I don't need this anymore. Like, I'm better than that. So you have to watch out who you're hanging out with too.
Yeah.
You have to hang out with people who are on your same level or higher. And what I mean by that is in their self-development journey. Like, if there's people who are super aware, there's people that I'm friends with now where they'll like just complain and complain and complain. And I'm like, I've been friends with them for so long and I love this person and they're such a genuine, great person. But I can't be around this person every single day because I know that they're going to infiltrate my mindset. And like, it's just, I can see, I don't want to coach them because I'm your friend. I'm not here to coach you how to live your life, but I'm going to end up telling you where to go, because I can't listen to you complain all the time and you're not doing anything about it. Like,
Yeah.
because I did. And was it easy? No, but it was available for me and I took it. I remember the day after I got laid off, someone called me, one of my friends, and asked me to join her network marketing business. I said, yeah, screw it. Like, do I have an extra like $800 to $700 laying around to invest in this right now? No, but I'll do it, because what else am I going to do? Don't know how long this is going to last. I've never not had a job. So it was for me that same thing of like, let me get back into working, like, because that's how I have my self-worth. So if you look at it, yes, I did something to better myself, but I also got right back into that mindset of like, okay, I need to be productive. I need to make numbers. I need to do this to be justifying myself and my existence. You know what I mean? So, but it did spiral me into, well, I want to do this better. How do I do this? And I started watching people on YouTube, and then watching those people spiraled me into the self-development world. So it was the start of something great, but the reason I started it was to stay productive and keep making money and keep being that good person, So,
The motives maybe weren't on
yeah,
par, but like it got you where you needed to go. And that's the thing with the journey. Like, if you're watching this video right now and you have like a little peak of interest of like, okay, I would love to feel that way about my life, but like I'm not there yet. Don't write it off. Like, get into Jessica's community and start being a fly on the wall. Like, you don't have to be all in right away, but you can start giving yourself permission to access networks of other people that are finding the success that you are looking for. Because, yeah, maybe it doesn't mean you're going to find that success tomorrow or 2 weeks from now or 2 months from now. But by giving yourself permission to be in that realm, you're already a step ahead. You've already started to change the trajectory of burnout, of overwhelm, of justification. Like, you've already given yourself that permission to do different.
yeah,
And, making choice is a very powerful thing. It can lead you one way and it can lead you the other. Like, you absolutely have the power to go in either direction. And that's funny enough. We were actually having this conversation about pretty controversial topic in our chat yesterday. So I won't like go into it, but we were talking about, and these are the conversations you can have with people that you trust. That's a big point to make too. When you find women that are, like she said, you're sort of vibing at the same level. You don't want people, like, think of it as the dials on the radio, right? So if someone's at like 30.7 and you're at like 90.3, you can't Like you cannot be on the same wavelength. It's going to be scratchy. You're not going to hear each other. You're not going to understand each other. Like it's just how it is. So if you're vibing up here and someone's down here, you're not ever going to be on the same page. So find people that are vibing like you are. And, you know, we talk a lot about like energetics and metaphysics and stuff. I love that kind of talk. And that's the thing. You have to really get yourself around people that are sort of on that same vibe, on that same level, or higher than you, like she said, because you want to be able to always be kind of raising your vibration, raising your frequency, because that means you're evolving and you're learning and you're surrounding yourself with people that are going to keep pushing you to do that. I actually, when I first started the whole self development journey, I kind of thought it was a little BS at first, where it was like, okay, the 5 people you surround yourself is who, you know, who you are. And I'm like,
It's so true though.
I know now.
I mean, and like the thing where you said you feel guilty before, it's like we put so much guilt on ourselves for every decision we make because what if it didn't turn out right? I knew I shouldn't have done that. Really? No. You have to be okay with whatever the outcome is. So divorcing yourself from the outcome is one of the biggest things that I learned was like, I'm going to make the decision and no matter what the outcome is, I'm going to be happy for myself because I learned one way or the other. Yes, this is the right direction or no, I need to pivot. But either way, if you stay stuck and you don't make any decisions, that's the worst thing you could do. And so, honestly, the self development journey, when I first started to, I was like, what is all this energetics and vibrations and frequency? Like, but it's so true. If you're up here and someone's here, they're going to either try and pull you down or you're going to try and spend all your energy pulling them up. And if they're down here and they want to stay down here, you're wasting your energy and your time. So, it literally is just being around the people that lift you up, being around the people that, you know, if I have a bad day, I'm writing Messenger talking to Sarah. I'm like, I'm like self-deprecating today. Like, can you help me? Like, this is what I'm going through. I just need to vent it out. And I'll vent it out and she'll just say like one little sentence and I'm like, you're right. Okay, I'm good now. Like, you
Yeah.
know, it's just having those people around you that are in the same space and can tell you what you don't see right in front of yourself. You know, like
Yeah.
sometimes we still go back into those old patterns and having someone to be like, snap out of it, you know better, you know, it's like so important. But
Yeah.
getting to that point is very uncomfortable. Looking inside yourself and seeing all the 38, whatever, it was 38 years for me. I was like, I wasted all this time. But then I was like, I can't look at it like that. Like I now have the gift of being able to share my gift with other women and help them stop them from making the same mistakes that I
Yeah.
did and wasting all that time on things that didn't serve me, you know, and now that's the passion that drives me forward. So I'll never say I regret anything. Do I wish I was here 20 years ago? Sure, that
Yeah.
my life would have been amazing, but I can't say my life's not amazing. I can't look back and feel guilty about anything because
Yeah.
everything I did brought me to here right now. So,
Hmm.
um, it's kind of a catch
Yeah.
22. Like, you know, you don't want to look back and feel bad about anything because that's how you got here. And you just have to know that you're special and you're unique and you're worthy. And the tears are worth it. All of the self digging inside to see all of the things that are messed up and why you feel and think the way you do. And really looking in the mirror and coming to terms with some shitty stuff about yourself. Um, it's worth it because
Yeah.
it really brings you out on the other side of it with all of this gratitude and, you know, self love and
Mhm.
passion to just keep moving forward and living the life you want, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. The clarity that you gain when you finally allow yourself to look inward and face all the scary shit and like the trauma and the the self-deprecating, all the things that we've done to ourselves for so long. Like I used to, whenever I would meditate, like a year ago when I started doing, you know, a more consistent meditation practice, almost every time I would like cry a little bit. And sometimes it was just, it would come up, it bubbles up. And that's the thing. The moment you start giving yourself permission to have your subconscious be heard, to finally start facing some of the shit that's like been creating this consistent, like, overwhelm, burnout, all the things, when you start facing that stuff, yeah, I mean, like you said, it's kind of ugly. Like it's not, and you don't have to have had like some major trauma in the past in order for it to feel really ugly and sticky and not fun. But I mean, yeah, we both have definitely our own experiences, but have some clients that have gone through the same thing. And the conversations you have, the epiphanies that she's having when she comes out of a meditation practice, like I will get goosebumps just hearing her talk about this level of recognition and self-awareness that then turns into self-love and care and clarity and gratitude. Like it's just the coolest thing. And yeah, I mean, like you, I've always said like the past is the past, and I'm never going to ever um, be, I don't know, have like, I wish it didn't happen. No, I'm quite glad it did, because now I have the clarity to know, like, okay, these experiences created this in my life. And like you said, that one thing your mom said to you domino affected all of these other things. And I've got a couple circumstances in my life that have absolutely done that. And now I see, wow, I didn't recognize that then. And now I do. And so, yeah, like working with Jessica and getting into her program is not like, okay, let's stop bad things from ever happening to you. It's more like, how can you become more self-aware, get the tools that you need in order to recognize when these things start occurring in your life? You can just straight up say, that's not for me. I know how to move through this and past it and be beyond the burnout. So I'm going to wrap this up. You guys click on the link above. This is how you can connect with Jessica to kind of discuss what your future beyond the burnout would look like. A simple conversation, and I'm telling you, you're going to love it because she's so straightforward.
Thank you.
And she's just so like I said, just a natural coach. Like whether you guys end up working together or you get into her community to continue learning more, like she's a person you want in your corner. So at the very least, connect with her, but check out the link above. What do you want to finish us off with today?
How do I follow that up? um, I just want to say that I know it seems hard, and I know it seems a little hokey because in the beginning I was like very like I was the most cynical person, the most sarcastic person, and I did everything to protect myself from getting hurt. And so that was the guard that I had up, and I would always just kind of push back and be a difficult person and always look at myself like I guess something's wrong with me because I can't change my circumstances, or I don't have that luck that they did, or I don't have the same money that they do, or I didn't grow up like they did. It's all nonsense. It really is. We're all the same people. We have different circumstances, but we can change them. It might take you longer than somebody else. It might be a little bit harder than somebody else. You might have more baggage than somebody else, but you can do it if you're willing to be coachable and face some difficult things. You will come out on the other side and just really just appreciate the shit out of your life, and really just start doing things that make you happy and be present and enjoy. Sometimes I'll just be like taking a walk and I'm like, so beautiful out. Like just really just like so appreciative of everything going. I'm so appreciative of this walk I'm taking. And I don't feel in the back of my mind, I gotta get home. I gotta get home because I have work to do. I just enjoy every moment. And I just want everybody to feel like that. So I just encourage you, let's have a conversation. Like Sarah said, I'm a very giving person, and I will tell you exactly like it is, but it's all out of love. And I just want to help as many women as I can be able to live better because we deserve better.
Oh, 100%. This was so good. All right. Until next time, you guys, be sure to check the guide section for anything you might have missed. And Jessica, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.